How was your first experience in college? Why don't you talk a little bit about that experience?
First semester was fantastic, you guys. I really loved the school that I went to. I really thought pretty hard about this decision-making process. I'll talk about that a little bit more later. But I loved Texas A&M. I loved playing there. A lot of the other schools didn't get a season, so that was really tough for them, but being able to have one, I felt super blessed. I think it was a very similar experience. Coming from Legends, it's a very family-oriented group, so that was huge. And I feel like when you're here, you really meet some important people. You meet some of your best friends, and I feel like having that translate over into college, going somewhere that was really similar and having the coaches here get me somewhere like that was super special and really made it an easy transition my freshman year, even despite all the COVID stuff. So that was great. I think for me, it's been tough staying disciplined with online classes, but I think really staying focused has been the most important thing for me. One thing that's helped me has been making a schedule. So knowing when I'm going to do stuff, because if I don't have a schedule, then I'm like, well, I could just push this back, I could do this later, but if I have a schedule or like checklists, like those are so satisfying to just cross things off a checklist. I feel like that one's really nice.
Talk a little bit about your soccer journey and again, things you learned along the way and any advice you have to pass on to them.
I officially started playing with Legends when I was in 2nd grade, but my sister played for Legends when I was younger, so starting from like 4 to 5 years old, I was always out passing the soccer ball at their halftime. And I really started to work on my foot skills there, and I told my parents that I wanted to play for Legends. I started playing for Matt Evans' team. So this was just developmental, like just starting with coaches and stuff like that. And Matt Evans really focused, I feel like, on technical ability. So my first collegiate goal that I scored was with the Matt Evans soccer move. I beat a player down the line using a move that I picked up here when I specifically remember this in the 3rd grade. I remember doing this foot skill over and over again, and this is where I learned it, and that ended up translating directly over to my collegiate career. And I think that's something that's really special about Legends, is that the stuff that you do here, you see it later on. You'll see it in people's collegiate careers. You'll see it like later on, girls that have gone and played professionally or guys that have gone and played professionally. It's all starting from their club career and what they did early on. And this got me into ODP camps. Playing there, won a couple of regional championships, made it to the national championships, and just had an overall fantastic time learning stuff there. And also, college coaches go and watch those games. I also was called into some youth national team camps, and that was a really fun experience. And I feel like stuff like that, those camps, those environments that you push yourself to get into, that is what has probably helped prepare me almost the most for college and collegiate soccer, because you're in those environments. And I feel like you guys doing this right now, being in an environment like this where you're training every day, it really helps prepare you for the next level, and I think that's really cool. National championships with the club, that has been fantastic. The USC soccer ones. We won in 2015, we won a national championship in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And that was,
first goal.
Yeah, I remember that. Oh my gosh, I had to run so far for that. It was off a corner kick, and then I ran the other direction. But that was such a special game for me, such a special time, and I feel like you really just get best friends from this team, from this club, from these experiences that you guys have. It's unreal, and I appreciate everything that this club has given to me, because I really owe them everything. Being where I am now, like, everything that I did when I was playing club soccer has led me to where I am right now, and I feel so blessed to be in the shoes that I am. So yeah.
Well, thank you. I think there was definitely on her development journey, there was obviously a lot of great moments, but there's also a scary time where, and I'll let her describe it better, where there was a possibility that Laney wasn't going to be able to play again. And for a kid who loves the game so much and such a contributor to the team and the environment, and just for her to have to go through that was painful for us to watch, let alone for her. So why don't you just kind of share kind of what happened and how you had to deal with it and overcome it and what you're dealing with now?
Yeah. So I'll take you guys back to the beginning. My sophomore year of high school, I woke up one morning at like 5 in the morning and couldn't move my body at all. And I was like terrified. I was like, I'm paralyzed. I don't know what's going on. And I screamed for my parents and they came in. Gradually movement came back in, but I was like terrified and I didn't know what had happened. But I kind of just didn't think much about it. Like I started to feel a little bit better. So I kind of just went on about my life. And it wasn't until a few months later, I remember this, we were on a soccer trip in North Carolina, and my back just started to hurt. Like I felt like an old man. Just couldn't like move like I wanted to. I couldn't turn my head. So like if I wanted to look at you guys on the ends, I like really would have to like turn my whole body to like look in that direction, which was tough. Like in school, if a teacher's walking across, I couldn't even turn my head. And so it wasn't until a few months later, it was like 5 months later, that I got diagnosed with an autoimmune issue called ankylosing spondylitis, which is...
How do you spell that?
Shoot, I don't even know how to spell that. It's basically this really rare type of like autoimmune arthritis, so my spine and my back was starting to fuse. So it was, instead of being like these things where you can like bend your back, it was starting to be like a stick, where I wouldn't have been able to, like if it would have been left untreated, like my spine would be completely fused together, like I would be pretty much immobile. So I started getting treatment for that, and it's not something, like I still deal with it. It's not something that's curable, but it's treatable. I was out for a year, you guys, over a year. And it was tough. I started having to take, and am still taking, and will still have to take, low doses of chemotherapy. I do these shots. Have you guys, like the Humira commercials, where it's like the older people in the commercials? That's me. I take those. I have to give myself a shot for that. But I was told that I was never going to play a soccer game again without pain. I was told that I was never going to have a practice without pain. And I was like, well, forget that. I'm going to work my butt off to get back to where I wanted. And guys, to be honest with you, I felt like before I got injured, I was starting to get burned out. I was starting to be like, I'm tired. I feel like I'm not playing for myself. I'm playing for other people. I don't know how I'm feeling about soccer. And then I got injured and I was like, whoa, like no one's gonna tell me that I can't play soccer again, because like this is part of who I am. And soccer to me meant so much that I was like, I'm gonna work my butt off to get back to where I was and to be better than to where I was. And so I just started working. So as soon as I could, I started taking the treatment that I needed to do. I started, which is weird, but diet was a huge thing for me that I had to work on, because foods are like inflammatory and I didn't know that. So it was a big learning curve for me. But I had to start watching what I was eating like a ton. And ultimately, I was able to get back to a place where I could practice again. And then I could play in games for like 5 to 10 minutes again. And then I was playing in games 45 minutes, and then I was playing 90 minutes, and I just worked my way back up. And yes, there were moments where it was bad and my back would lock up again and I would be in pain and worried, but guys, having the question as to whether I would ever be able to play soccer again really made me work to, like, it was something that was so inspirational for me, because I was like, I'm gonna get through this. Like, this is for me to be able to be as happy as I can be, because I wanted to play soccer. Like, soccer means that much, and I feel like sometimes we don't recognize that until it's taken away. But it's huge, and it's an outlet for me. Like, it's something that I'm like, man, school is just bugging me today. I don't want to do this. And you go out, play soccer, and then you're 10 times happier. You know, I feel like for me, it's just an outlet like that. And so it was huge to me when it was, hey, I might not get to play again. So being able to come back from that, and then being able to go and play collegiately after that has been huge as well. Like, being able to do that despite how difficult this was. Huge.
Laney could have gone to any university she wanted in the country. Good grades, good student, good teammate, good athlete, good soccer player. She made a selection that at Texas A&M, again, having the opportunity to go wherever she wanted to go. Maybe you could kind of speak to how you went through that process and how you came to your decision.
Okay, so this was a process. I looked at a lot of schools, and I really broke it down. I was really picky. I was meticulous about where I wanted to go, to a point where I think my coaches were like, just make a decision already. Like, you really need to pick somewhere. But I looked at a ton of schools, you guys, and there were so many different factors. I know that you guys are young right now, but just starting to think about stuff like, okay, what state do I want to be in? Or what region of the country do I want to be in? Like, do I like cold weather? Do I like hot weather? Because for me, Texas is very hot. And it's decisions like that, like little things, but it's also like, okay, this school has really good academics. Or, okay, this school has a really good program that I like here. I really like the coaches. But I think ultimately you want kind of the best package. You want a school that has good academics. You want a school where you like the team. Because I've had some friends that have gone to schools where they haven't really meshed with some of their team members, and it's been more difficult for them. Or a school where you have good coaches. You guys, I love my coaches at Texas A&M, and I feel like really taking the time to get to know the people that you're talking to and that are recruiting you, that one's huge. I love my coaches, so I feel like that's a huge one. Other than that, like, there are just tons of different aspects that go into it. Legends helps a ton with it. I could not have picked where I wanted to go if it were not for my coaches and the constant phone calls where I was on with Josh annoying him about, hey, I don't know if I like this, I don't know what I'm feeling about this. But visits help a ton. That's how you really get to know the coaches, you get to know the school, you get to know the environment and the atmosphere that you're looking at. Because for me, I was really like, it was funny. The first two schools that I looked at, my first two visits were UCLA and USC. And I had it in my head, I was like, I don't like UCLA at all. I love USC. I think I could end up committing to USC. My very first visit was USC, and I got back in the car and I was like, I do not like USC. I don't like it at all. But then I went to UCLA, which I thought I didn't like at all, and I loved it. I loved almost everything about it. Almost ended up going to UCLA. So visits change your mindset a lot. You get to learn a lot more than you ever think that you would without them. I think getting into contact early with coaches, so like, I know this is early for you guys, but just to think for the future, like sending out emails, and I even have like old drafts and stuff that I can forward to the coaches of like email drafts of like, hey, this is what I want to say. Hi, my name is so-and-so. I play for Legends. I'm interested in your school. I could even forward those here. But just things to start thinking about, sending out those emails, being in contact with coaches. It helps so much, guys. And it helps to get your name out there by letting a coach know that you're interested in a school. So I just think, I know it's early again, but it's nice to start thinking about it. And I hope that if y'all want to play collegiately, that y'all would start to like think about that. It helps.
You mentioned mindset a bunch of times during your talk so far. Could you explain how you came to practice, what your mindset was, or for games, or just address kind of the mindset piece of it?
This is first and foremost for me. I say this to anyone who wants to play soccer beyond club, or even at club if you're just having a hard time. Soccer's fun, you guys. I think sometimes when soccer gets hard, we forget that. And so I think the biggest piece for me has been going, soccer is fun, and I love this game, so I'm going to give everything that I have right now. Okay, soccer is its most fun when you're doing good. Do you guys agree with that? Like, soccer is good. Soccer is fun when you are juking someone out, when you meg the heck out of someone, when you score a banger. Like, that's when you're like, soccer is fun. So I feel like for me, it's a huge motivator to be like, I want to go out and I want to have fun.